Picture this. It's summer in LA and you spend your days biking to the beach, tanning, and rotting your brain away with the good vibes of Southern California. But after 3.5 years living in SoCal, it came to my attention that I still haven't yet made an effort to leave this bubble and get up to NorCal. But maybe for good reason, as the news and social media are constantly shouting that San Francisco is a dystopian wasteland full of crime, drugs, and driving tourists, locals, and businesses out of a once booming city. So what's really going on in San Francisco? Alright, good morning, and first up, I think it's pretty much a requirement to visit Fisherman's Wharf when you first get here, which is the most visited spot here in San Francisco. Specifically, Pier 39, where all the sea lions gather around. But something is up because the docks feel empty compared to the last time I was here 15 years ago in 2009, when the docks were full and overflowing with them. Or maybe I just got lucky in 2009 because I discovered that at the end of April of this year, over 1,000 sea lions gathered in Pier 39 for an anchovy feast, and that was the most in 15 years the last time I was here. Without as many sea lions though, are there still a lot of tourists here? Well, Fisherman's Wharf was still full of plenty, but maybe not as much as usual. San Francisco is facing an $800 million budget deficit, and this can climb to $1.4 billion by 2027 if costs continue to outstrip revenue. Visitor volume has yet to reach pre-pandemic levels, plagued by the perception that the city is dead with drugs and crime. And all those perceptions are affecting the city's economy. And the perception has mainly been stemming from Union Square, but first, I gotta get a little closer to the Golden Gate Bridge. There's a cable car. One thing to note though, these very touristy stores and restaurants are here at Fisherman's Wharf, just like they are in a place like Hollywood Boulevard. But if I'm gonna compare Hollywood Boulevard and Fisherman's Wharf, Fisherman's Wharf is such a breath of fresh air. So much cleaner and more pleasant. As I walked down the marina, I tried to get a closer glimpse of the famous Golden Gate Bridge, a landmark that is typically always foggy in the summer mornings with a fog that the locals named Carl for some reason. Just me and Carl. Hey Michael. Welcome to the global tech hub of San Francisco, the birthplace of Google and so many internet companies. Business manager, you followed me here? How'd you know I'd be here? Well, I booked you this trip, obviously. But you know, there's really nothing you can't find online nowadays, and you need to make sure you're protecting yourself with Aura, the sponsor for today's video. You're right, and I have that covered because I Googled my name recently and was really uncomfortable to learn that a lot of our personal information is exposed and for sale by data brokers. Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, your relatives, it's all out there. Aura shows you which data brokers are selling your information and automatically submits opt-out requests. Cleaning up your information not only helps reduce the amount of spam, but it protects you from hackers who could use this information to access your social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. I don't know if you saw this, but AT&T revealed that over 73 million customer records, both current and former customers, were released on the dark web. They recommend those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura does all of this, and best of all, you don't have to download several different apps just because a company couldn't keep your data secure. If your info was compromised on the AT&T data breach, well, you shouldn't worry because Aura is always on and always doing the hard work of keeping you safe. You can go to aura.com/Martello to start your 2-week free trial, also linked below in the description. Alright, now that my pants are soaked from sitting on this grass and I couldn't be any more cold, I think it's time to explore why SF has such a poor reputation right now, and that may be related to Union Square. So let's head over there. Union Square has historically been the main commercial hub full of tourists and shoppers, but is now so-called proof of the city's decline with many store closures.
The exodus continues.
A lot of retail
retailers have been pulling out of the city.
So Macy's actually announced that they're closing their flagship store here in Union Square, as if they're not closing hundreds of stores anyway, thanks Amazon. But it will be a pretty big loss for the downtown district, as this flagship store serves as sort of an anchor for every other business to orbit around. It's been iconic to this neighborhood for a long time, and it's just one of many stores that are closing in the area. As some start to leave though, others will follow as competition and foot traffic decreases. This area once drew people from all over the Bay Area and internationally here to shop. But even some locals here say that Union Square never really had a cultural aspect to it aside from commercialism anyway. So is Union Square a good representation of San Francisco? Probably not. I will say that this area is a lot less grungy than I had expected it to be. I mean, every table is full, there's a lot of tourists and maybe locals here, and there's cops and law enforcement on every corner. Not to compare SF to LA again, but if you look at Union Square Plaza versus Pershing Square in downtown LA, Union Square in SF is a lot more cleaner, feels more safe, and less dead. I can't really compare it to pre-pandemic levels, but there's a good amount of foot traffic here. You'd think that this long line is for a concert or something, but really it's for getting onto a cable car. I can't say that Union Square blew my socks off by any means, as for primarily being a shopping district, there was nothing really here that piqued my interest, but there was definitely a lot of signs of life. Union Square does border the infamous Tenderloin district, a neighborhood that most tend to avoid and one that I did today, but we have to remember that every city has its rough areas. In fact, in SF, property crime is down 32% and violent crime is down 14% compared to 2023. While Union Square might be considered a very popular tourist destination here, my childhood mind thinks a little differently. Because while Union Square might have a lot of empty houses, I want to see a full house. And welcome to Alamo Square, home of the iconic Painted Ladies. And while the Tanner family might not live here in real life, whoever is lucky enough to call these Victorian-style homes their home have to live with the fact that people are endlessly photographing these houses all day long, what's called Postcard Row. Also just a really nice place to just lounge out and relax too. Forget the ladies. And I see a coffee cart in the middle of this park, so let's get to it. It's called Lady Falcon Coffee Club, and they had an excellent cold brew. I should also mention that I took the N light rail on the MUNI Metro from Union Square over to Deboche-Anneau, which was a quick walk to Alamo Square. Okay, maybe not quick, it was also quite the workout with these hills, let's be real. I found the trains to be clean, ridership felt safe and efficient, and SF's MUNI has received its highest customer ratings this year since 2001. Over the weekend, I also took the buses a number of times, and I can say the public transit in SF honestly made me forget I was in car culture, California. For real, I would see a license plate and have to remind myself what state I was in. For a while, Alamo Square was also a neighborhood that was facing the car break-in crisis, one of the hardest. And don't get me wrong, it's still happening, but police force have been cracking down on this very televised crisis, and the past couple years have been significantly improving. And also just see here that a lot of the streets in San Francisco are residential, and the sidewalks are actually pretty clean. There is a lot of cars parked on the sidewalks, including some luxury vehicles, and while this is definitely a different neighborhood than maybe some others, I don't really see any broken windows or cars being broken into or anything like that. Just something to keep in mind. All right, so now that we got some coffee, if you've seen my videos before, you know how much I love a city park, something that I believe LA really lacks. So aside from Alamo Park, what else do we have here? Let's go find out to see if the other parks are lively or dead. Okay, and we made it to Mission Dolores Park, and God, it is hotter down here than it was up at Alamo Park, which is a higher elevation. It was freezing up there, but now I'm like sweating. What is up with these microclimates in San Francisco? Mission Dolores Park is one of San Francisco's most popular parks. To come here to lounge in the sun, do whatever park goers do here in a city. I love city parks, and San Francisco is really impressing me. Friday afternoon, Dolores Park. Not too crowded, but I'm sure this weekend it's just going to be packed as usual. Okay, and tell me this isn't absolutely beautiful. And to complement this view, I got a Mission-style burrito, or I should say tacos, which is a can't-miss spot when you're in the Mission District. Oh yeah. After a long day walking throughout the city and its landmarks, more coming in my next video by the way, I laid out in this park for about 2 hours, feeling the good vibes and the sunshine with that theme song very much still stuck in my head. I was waiting for what would hopefully be a great sunset here at Mission Dolores Park, but Carl the Fog was rolling in, which made me think out loud. I need to get to higher elevation. And so I headed up to Twin Peaks to get some panoramic sunset views. Okay, I can only laugh because I came up to Twin Peaks Christmas Tree Point for sunset, and when we talk about microclimates in San Francisco, it is so cold up here and completely foggy and white. I can't see a damn thing. I don't want to waste this sunset up here. Is it gonna clear? I should note, I almost turned that Uber right back around, but the driver claimed that the fog would probably disappear within the next 5 minutes, so I chose to believe him. So when they say San Francisco is just an apocalyptic city, I can only assume this is what they mean. Or that really creepy show with the same name. Okay, I think I need to get out of here. So this is what San Francisco is really like in 2024. Absolute foggy, windy, cold chaos. Okay, I'm basically stranded at the top of Twin Peaks. Phone battery is dying. I just called an Uber though to get me out of here and to get to hopefully somewhere sunnier. I may have been laughing then, but with a phone battery at 9% and 5 Uber drivers canceling on me, I started to stress out real hard, but luckily I was saved. And now I came to Buena Vista Park in the Castro to hopefully see a better sunset. Although it's still really gloomy here, but at least it's not windy and blizzard-like. Unfortunately, no real sunset overlooking the city tonight, but instead, I got some enchanted forest vibes, and I don't know if I'm complaining. It's kind of cool. And kind of creepy. In the midst of a quintessential NorCal moment that is very unlikely in SoCal, it got me thinking again that San Francisco today may have its fair share of issues for sure, but would I recommend traveling here? Absolutely. Just maybe be careful with the storms and bring a portable charger with you. I had an incredible time in SF, and if you want to see more of the hotspots, stay tuned for my next video where we'll be doing a 2-day itinerary to cross everything off the bucket list. Keep traveling, and I'll see you next time.